Young Philly has been arrested in Australia for essaying a woman. He was performing at the Perth nightclub and shortly after took a woman back to his hotel room where he allegedly essayed her. Philly has been charged with 4 counts of essay without consent, 3 counts of assault causing bodily harm, and 1 count of impeding a person's normal breathing. Philly has been released on bail, but on the condition that he stays in Australia and surrenders his passport. Some brands have wasted no time in cutting their ties with Philly, which include Heinz and ASOS, as well as Foot Asylum. Foot Asylum has had a long-standing contract with Young Philly, and he has appeared on their YouTube channel a plethora of times, but they have severed their ties with Young Philly. As well as Upload Productions, they actually produced the Chunks and Philly show, and they have paused working with Young Philly until the court proceedings and everything has been finalized. Chunks and Philly were also supposed to do a live performance of the Chunks and Philly show, but that has also been canceled. This is really sad, and my heart does go out to the victim if this ends up being 100% true and not just alleged. Supposedly there is proof though, and they have footage or proof of Philly actually committing these heinous acts. It's sad that he's worked so hard to get to the level he's at, and it's just all gone in a second, in the blink of an eye. And I don't know how the laws work in Australia. He could be there forever. They could put him in prison forever. I don't know how the laws work over there, how strict they are with certain crimes such as this, because, every country is very different. And this not only affects him, it affects his friends as well. I mean, he had the Chunks and Philly show. That's over with. So Chunks doesn't have that anymore as well. So this doesn't only affect him. He's so connected, and he has so many friends, and they've all gotten so big together and have gained so much success together. And this is just really, really sad. And this speaks to a very important thing. A lot of people who've experienced SA know that you are powerless. You have no power in that situation, in that moment. And it's very scary. And sometimes you can't do anything about it. And a lot of people think that it's just some unattractive person who maybe gets rejected a lot by a lot of women, and they're the ones who do it. Yes, that can be true. But a lot of the times it's also people within the community who are very liked, very popular, very good looking. And you would never in your mind think that they would be capable of doing or committing such a heinous act. And you let your guard down with those kind of people because, you think they're good people, and then they attack, and then they commit those heinous acts. It's not always the ugly, unattractive person. Sometimes it's the very, very good looking person who is very well loved by many people, or just people in general. This is something that is very serious and keeps happening a lot of times. And there's a lot of women who've experienced that. Men too, because men do get essayed as well. But there's a lot of women who've experienced it who've never said anything because they know people wouldn't believe them. And this is not the first time that people have said stuff about Young Philly. I remember last year, or I think 2 years ago, there was a bunch of women coming out on TikTok who said that they supposedly slept with Philly and how he's a creep and he's a weirdo and stuff, and showing proof, like I guess DMs and text messages. And some women would say they'll meet Philly like in a club and he'd just be very weird. I know one girl said that supposedly Young Philly bit one of her girlfriends outside of the club. So it's like not the first time we've heard something about Philly. Even people who work with him say he's arrogant. So we've heard stuff about him for like some years now. And if one person says something, okay, then it is what it is. But when you keep hearing stuff, some of it has to be true. Something in there has to be true. And I'll never forget Foot Asylum. They did some kind of lie detector test video, and it had Chunks and Philly in it. And Chunks asked Philly, well, if my girl was at home with you, I would, let's say he went out and his girl was home and she had made advances at Philly, what would he do? And Philly was like, what was she wearing? And he laughed about it, and they were joking, and, Chunks looked shocked as I don't know what. And there's some truth to every joke that's told. So it's stuff like that. And I mean, if you really listen to what Philly has said, even on the podcast, just in general, how he speaks about women, that'll tell you a lot about a person. You can't claim to be so humble and be so Christian and all about God and stuff like that, and talk about you come from humble beginnings and you took your mother and your sisters and you got them to this point, but then be doing very conniving, nasty, weird stuff behind the scenes. And he would keep bringing up that he came from nothing, he came from nothing, came from nothing. And I don't mind people doing that if it's genuine and it comes, you're being very humble and you're just so grateful to be in the position you are in. But there is a difference between being like that and just saying it so that you can appear to be humble or appear to be better than you actually are. And I remember there's one episode on the Chunks and Philly podcast where Chunks was like, well, I don't even see you. And that they started that podcast because they don't see each other. But that he's like, I never see you. You know, you don't ever come to my place, come to my home or anything like that. Like all these things. And then even when like they would ask questions, you know, like the best friend quiz, and they're asking Chunks questions about Philly, and Chunks knows those questions. Then you ask Philly those same questions or similar questions about Chunks, and it's like Philly would never know. He didn't even know his supposed best friend's birthday. Like, I know my best friend's birthday. I know my best friend's birthday. Hell, I know her parents' birthdays. Like, you know, so it was just very strange to me. And it seemed at times that like Chunks was a better friend to Philly than Philly was to him. And like I said, I don't know these people personally, but I always say the veil will be dropped. You know, eventually you can only hide behind a mask for so long before the true self comes out. And obviously his true self is starting to seep out. So we'll see how this unfolds. But that just goes to show you people gain a level of success sometimes and they start acting crazy. You cannot be going to other countries and doing crazy stuff. I mean, we don't know how laws work in every country, you know, and it's apparent he thought he could just go over there and act crazy and nothing would happen. I want to know what you guys think in the comments. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.